Welcome back, guys, to the show. We're doing a live show. It's been a minute. I'm Jake Ellenbogen of JE Live, and joining me is my guy, Nick Hamilton of Nitecast Media. How we doing, Nick? Happy to have you on here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
It live.
I mean, hey, it's been a minute, you know. I don't
Yeah, man.
Have we ever spoken face to face like this? I don't know.
No. Actually, no.
Podcasted,
It's been a minute. Yeah, this is the first time, man. This is the first time. First time, but not last time.
No, definitely not the last time. You're welcome anytime. Man, let's just start off because I know I'm first off, I'm wearing a THT jersey over here. Representing my Lakers. So we got to talk about it. What were your thoughts on last night's game, and kind of, even moving forward with that, are the Lakers a contender at this point, or are you kind of like not really enthused with the way they played last night?
Well, first of all, if I may, where the hell did you find a THT jersey? Because I haven't found one here in LA. And I know you're on the East Coast, so where did you find that jersey?
Man, I just hit up DH Gate. It's not anything special, you
know. All right.
But I love my guy, so I had to support in a sense.
THT is the man for sure. To answer your question, you know what, the Lakers are kind of wait and see. It's a point where they struggled against the Warriors, which a team they should have beaten by at least 10 to 12 points at least, because of the offensive juggernaut that they are with Drummond, with AD, with LeBron, with Kyle Kuzma, with KCP, and those guys. And you mentioned, THT coming in the second unit with Caruso, and Trez and those guys. So, I thought it was going to be a much better played game. Obviously, Lakers played like trash in the first half, but they picked it up. They got it together, as LeBron said last night. Hey, Markieff and Duds, got in their behinds, and that's probably exactly what they needed. It seemed like everything started clicking, especially in that third quarter. They started to play like the Laker team we expected them to play like. And I will say, if it wasn't for a few costly turnovers by the Golden State Warriors, we may be thinking of a different game, and the Lakers could be the ones playing on Friday night instead. So, props to the Lakers. LeBron hit a big time shot at the end of the shot clock that really pretty much put the game in the can. And, talking to him afterwards, saying he saw 3 baskets. He just aimed for the one in the middle. Even thank God, that he actually made that, which you should, because that was a miracle shot.
Yeah.
But I don't know moving forward. I mean, you're hitting a very tough Phoenix Suns team. This is not the same Phoenix Suns that we've been accustomed to in the last several years. This is a different mentality. They have a lot of grit. They have a lot of role players that want to step up and want to showcase and make a name for themselves as well. Beyond, CP3, beyond DeAndre Ayton, beyond Devin Booker, Micaiah Brooks, beyond those guys. This is going to be a very tough series for the Lakers. And I don't know if the Lakers can handle it. Even if it goes 7, even if the Lakers happen to get out of it, it's going to be a dogfight, as it were, because the Suns are going to grind and grind and grind, especially with the Lakers not being 100% healthy. LeBron is able to play. LeBron has been playing pretty well as of late, but I don't think that ankle is what it is. I don't think that ankle is 100%. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough time to kind of rest it. It kind of let it really just heal on its own and then get back to it because of the injury that happened so late in the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they monitor that, how that plays out. AD, has even the minutes that he's been logging in. Is that going to catch up with him at some point? Can they gel as a cohesive unit with the big 3 that I named, with Drummond, AD, and LeBron? So it's a lot of factors. The Lakers have a good defense. When they really play defense, they play a really good defense. But, like I said, CP is the engine that moves that train. And he is a true floor general in every sense of the word. And this may be the year that Chris Paul, ascends deep into higher heights and gets deeper into the playoff picture. Because the Suns are really just clicking. I know the last time the Suns came out and played the Lakers without LeBron, it was the AD show. I mean, AD took over. But again, this is a 7-game series. This is not something that you play a team and then move on to the next city. This is a 7-game series. So teams are going to figure each other out. It's just about who's going to outcoach whom. Is Monty Williams going to outcoach Frank Vogel, or is Vogel going to be able to outcoach Monty Williams? That's going to be, to me, that's the interesting matchup in my estimation, is the coaching.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. And I think, looking at last night, I mean, let's be honest here. As funny as it sounds to say, the Lakers don't win this without Caruso. I mean, he was huge in this game. But they're going to need, a better effort out of a guy like, Dennis Schroeder shooting 3 of 14 from the field. And I mean, to be honest with you, Anthony Davis, 10 of 24, LeBron, 7 of 17. He got better, but early on, he struggled. So, I do think they really just wanted to get in the thing with this play-in. I think now, going into it, having a series with the Suns, I think, they have to feel good about, at least being in it. And then, of course, as the series progresses, maybe you get healthier, maybe something like you get those times in between those games, those days off. I think that's going to be helpful. But that play-in game, that I told you this, we talked on the phone before. I was like, you drew the Warriors. That was the worst team to draw. And to be honest with you, Steph Curry ends up with 37 and he had a really good night, but that wasn't like, a crazy night. And I felt like if Steph Curry had a crazy night, which what I was expecting, I thought he was going to drop like 51, a Steph Curry type of night makes it a tough game. It shouldn't have, but it did. A Steph Curry crazy night, they clearly would have won this game.
Oh, not only that, if they would have had a somewhat healthy Klay Thompson.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, because there was rumors that Klay could return, on a limited minute basis if he did return, but he could have returned. Fortunately, he didn't, because for the Lakers' sake, I should say.
Yeah.
Because that could have been a whole different ballgame, because the Lakers didn't beat them by that much. It was pretty much close all the way down the stretch, about the last minute of the game. So to me, I think, to your point earlier that you made about can they get healthier later on, depends if they had to go through a dogfight. If you got to go through a 7-game dogfight, it's only going to get tougher for the Lakers, because every team's going to step up, because you have this giant bullseye on your back as the world champions, and everybody wants to get a stripe off of you like you Adidas. So you're going to have to make sure that you're going to get everything that you get. They're going to give you everything, including the kitchen sink, and you got to be prepared for that. And I don't know if the Lakers are healthy enough to be able to sustain that for 3 rounds to get to the NBA Finals and defend their crown. I'm not sure of that. I'm not 100% confident. I'm not saying they won't, because I think when you have LeBron James, it's hard to bet against him, much like it's hard to bet against Tom Brady in football. But at the same time, you are vulnerable. Father Time is catching up to LeBron James, whether people want to admit it or not. And I said this a couple of years back. LeBron James is such a special player. It's such a different built type of player that when he starts to break down, he is going to break down. It's not going to be a gradual thing. It's going to be a bunch of nagging things, growing ankle, elbow, shoulder. It's going to be little things that are going to start to break him down, because he's such big in stature, with the way, with his muscle and bone structure. It's going to be something where he's going to have to get it all while he can. And I think he realizes that, which is why he's trying to go so hard this year, because he sees that his window is closing. And it's getting more narrow by the season for him to get through that window. And it's going to come to a point where that window is going to be shut. He's not going to be able to get out. So I think now he's going to take full advantage of what happens this year. And I think if he doesn't get a title this year, I think LeBron sits at 4 for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I think, let's look at just the trade going out and getting Anthony Davis. I mean, you knew what you were getting with him, a guy that can be a dominant player, one of the best players in all of basketball. But the biggest problem was his injury history, and the fact that he can't stay healthy. And we've seen that, he was lingered with injuries last year. And, you'll get the fan excuse, oh, well, that was a freak little thing. And it's like, come on, are we going to continue to make excuses for Anthony Davis? The guy gets hurt. He does. Now, the problem is the Lakers know this, and they can play with that if LeBron stays healthy. But when you have them both out, and then you have Dennis Schroeder, who has been all sorts of, injuries and not playing up to par, like what he can be, and then just kind of an identity crisis when those guys are out. I mean, you get on the floor, you have Ben McLemore shooting threes, and you're hoping that Ben McLemore can be a spark plug. And then, Markieff Morris. And it's like, that's not the Lakers game. And so I think if we were talking about a fully healthy team, I don't think it's a question they make the NBA Finals. I really don't think it's a question. If they're fully healthy, I think they are the best team in basketball, but they're not fully healthy. And we don't know if they'll ever be fully healthy in this, not just this series, but this whole playoff run. So we'll see. I think this is more adversity than they went through last year. And, you could argue the bubble was a lot to go through. And they did lose a key contributor, I totally forgot his name. He opted out.
Dwight Howard?
No, he opted out last year before the bubble.
Oh, Avery Bradley.
Yes, Avery Bradley, who was a key contributor. Like, I think he's a little
defensively.
Yeah, he's a little undersold, but this year it's a lot more. And I think just the injuries, they've just been battered with injuries, and it kind of goes to show you, we talk preseason, we hoist her up, that trophy, but we don't look at the fact that, hey, this is a long season. And they literally went right into this year. I mean, it was like there was like a turnaround, and it was like none at all. And then all of a sudden they had, whatever you want to call an off season, that was like the shortest off season of all time. And then the season started, and it was just like, happened overnight, it seemed like. So, these guys were celebrating on October 11th. I know, because that was my birthday, and I watched them win last year on my birthday. And then now we're talking about them, playing in the playoffs here in May. It's like, that turnaround is a little ridiculous, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, I will always say the key component beyond Rondo was Dwight Howard that they missed.
Oh,
they truly missed Dwight Howard because he was a very key contributor, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he was a key contributor to them winning that championship, and the fact that they didn't retain his services is really why they're missing. They're missing right now, because I do believe when AD went out and LeBron was still there, this is obviously pre-Andre Drummond. If they would have had Dwight Howard, they wouldn't have lost as many games as they lost with Dwight Howard and LeBron James out there on the floor. I wholeheartedly believe that because he was such a key contributor. You see what he's been doing in Philly. The times when Joel Embiid was out, and what he's contributed to that team.
It's one of those ones I just don't get.
Yeah.
I thought, perfect redemption story for him. And
sure.
That's great and all, but he was also like, it wasn't just like a feel good story. This guy was a contributor, like you said, and, letting him go, I think, was definitely a little bit of a head scratcher there. I understood Rondo, and you can't pay everybody.
Right.
But sometimes I feel like, it's like when you have that clutch, right? Like you have all of LeBron's guys. I feel like they've won because of it, because you have LeBron James on one hand, but the other, it's like you have to sign KCP, and, you have to bring those guys in because they're part of that whole clutch group. You know what I mean? I feel like, because of that, they've actually missed out on some other guys. And now, you can totally like throw a bone there and say that, I don't know if he is, but if Dwight's from clutch, that totally ruins my point. But, and is he?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because I would make that argument, is that like they've actually let guys go in the past because, like, I'm not saying that's entirely the reason, but like they're not going to let go of KCP because that's, obviously, Rich Paul and, Clutch, he's part of that group.
I think too, Dwight Howard has had I think he's learned a lot the last time he was with the Lakers. And I think you talk about the ultimate story of redemption. Dwight Howard was that. I remember covering that team last year, and after the game, seeing Dwight Howard go back out on the floor after the game was over and shoot free throws or shoot certain inside the perimeter type of shots. He was always working on his game, which is why he was always one of the last to get interviewed in the locker room, because he would be out there working. And so you saw the seriousness. You saw from day one and I do believe LeBron and company had a meeting with him and said, look, these are the ground rules. Can you abide by these? Cool. Okay, here we go. And they hung out with him. They really opened arms, really embraced him, really welcomed him to the family, as it were. Hung out with him in Vegas when they were at the WNBA game, when they watched the Aces that year. They were all hanging out. So they really embraced Dwight Howard and made him feel like a part of the team, and he showed it, especially in down the stretch and in the playoffs. So that's a guy that I believe that they truly are missing. And they probably wouldn't be in this situation. Maybe they would slid to the 4 seed, maybe without AD until AD came back. But I don't think they would have slid all the way to a play-in game and be the 7 seed facing a 2 seed going into this year's playoffs. I just don't see it.
No, I hear you there. It makes me wonder. I don't know if it was a 1 or 2 year deal for Howard, but it makes me wonder if it's a 1 year deal, if the Lakers would consider bringing him back after the year. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, I think they're seeing what you're seeing. You know, I think that they were hoping that they could get through with it. I mean, let's be real here. If they didn't go out and get Drummond, who knows if they even, you know, like what would happen there, you know, because I mean, Marc Gasol was not cutting it. You know, there are a couple games he had, you know, it looked like he was finding his stride. And it's like, come on now, you know, but yeah. So, I mean, I think the Lakers, you know, they have some issues. I don't think they're a guaranteed shoe in to get past the Suns. And I think that needs to be said. I think people need to realize that and not get their hopes up. But with that being said, you know, I wanted to start off with the Lakers because I thought that, you know a ton about the Lakers. You have your own show. Like you're the man. And I follow your stuff on the Lakers. Doing great stuff, by the way. But now we move on to the Rams here, which you also cover the Rams. So let's talk a little bit. We'll start off with the draft. I want to get your thoughts on, you know, just overall anything that really stood out to you with the draft, things you like, things you didn't. Everyone already knows my thoughts on it. We could just have a conversation about that. And then we'll talk about the Rams season, just like, you know, preseason in depth a little bit.
Well, first of all, I love the jersey number changes. That's kind of cool. I think that's really cool. They're taking it back to what their primes, and maybe that mentally that might help them this season. And you know, they're going back to their college days, so sometimes you got to take it back to move forward. Sometimes, so I'm loving that. But I like Robert Woods. I like Cooper Kupp. I'm glad to see Cooper Kupp is healthy. Saw some runs out there this week on the Rams page where he was out there getting some catches from Matthew Stafford, kind of just testing things out. Obviously, it's rookie camp this week, or open camp, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the hell they call it these days with the pandemic going on. Everything. Oh yeah, but whatever it's called, some type of camp is going on in Thousand Oaks, and seeing guys like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and even Deshaun Jackson getting some runs in, Van Jefferson getting some. I have a lot of high hopes for Van Jefferson. I think if they really, and I do believe that Sean McVay talking to him a month or so back, when he said, he's really invested into Van Jefferson. So I hope he's really going to be more invested in Van Jefferson this season, because we saw the promise that Van Jefferson showed last season with the 2 catches that he made and is getting his very first NFL touchdown, one of many before his career ends, I do believe. But when I look at Tutu Atwell, I like him. They can maybe do some jet sweeps with him, maybe do some short yardage gains, things of that nature. They can probably try to work him in to the fold, especially with Matt Stafford. Now, the question I have is, because Matt Stafford typically deals with tall wide receivers. He does very well with tall wide receivers and wide receivers that are very agile. So I'm wondering how that's going to work with Tutu Atwell. Will they do the same thing they did to Van Jefferson? Kind of work him in slowly, maybe third and short, jet sweeps like I mentioned, things of that nature, maybe kind of just get him into some reps to kind of see what he has, where they can utilize him the most. I think, the Sean McVay and company would probably start doing that. And then on the defensive side of the ball, obviously you got the defensive guard, better known as Aaron Donald. And I love that. I love what he's doing. He is the heart and soul of that team as well. Thank God he got through that nonsense that he had to get through. And I'm really proud of the Rams for standing by him and not allowing the pressure at the moment to usurp their better judgment. And the Rams are a great organization. And they really did their due diligence, and it came out, hey, he was innocent. He tried to even help the man, which is really unfortunate, because I really hope Aaron Donald goes to help more people and not let that one incident, deter him away, because he's a good guy. Very great on the field, but even a great guy, period. I had a chance to talk with him a couple of times. Very great work ethic. Incredible, just football player all around, and just a leader. And you see it throughout that defense. Jalen Ramsey coming back. But as far as the draft goes, I think they did pretty well. I mean, again, it's hard to really grade and tell what this draft class is going to be right now. We may have to wait maybe a couple of years to see what things develop into. Maybe they flip one of these draft picks and get somebody with veteran leadership to come on whatever side of the ball they feel like they needed to happen and really make a strong impact. We just don't know. But they have some great pieces. I do think they'll slide into the playoffs. I don't know if they'll win the division this year because they're in a very tough division, probably one of the most competitive divisions in football in the NFC West. You see what Arizona has stepped up doing. You see what Seattle, Seattle still has Russell Wilson. It remains to be seen what they add to their team. You got San Francisco now. They did an incredible draft pick at quarterback. And then, like I said, you have those you have those guys. So to me, it's locked and loaded. But I'm interested to see what Matthew Stafford is going to do this season. I think he has a chip on his shoulder. I do think that he's going to try to prove some people wrong because it's the same guy that's not had a playoff, win. So can you get that playoff win? Can you shake that monkey off your back with this new Reliant offense and under Sean McVay? And it's also a test for Sean McVay too, because I think Sean McVay now will be tested and say, hey, man, look, you got to the Super Bowl. That bought you some time. But now you got to start making your way back. And if you don't start making your way back, in a couple of years, not saying right now, but maybe in a couple of years, you might see some changes on the sideline. I think they got a great defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris is probably one of the most defensive sound minds on the sidelines in football today, outside of Ty Bowles. So I think they got a good, replacement for Brandon Staley, who moved on to the Los Angeles Chargers, obviously, as their head coach. But I think they need to keep Raheem Morris because I've always had an issue with you can't keep rotating guys year in and year out and expect guys to learn that defense. Like, you got to build some chemistry. You got to build some camaraderie. You got to build a system, which is why we see nobody from the Tampa Bay Bucks left. There's a reason for that because we all know Byron Leftwich could have got a gig somewhere. Todd Bowles could have got a gig somewhere. Some of the other coordinators could have got gigs elsewhere, and they decided to stay under Bruce Arians. And there's a reason for that. There's a culture that they're trying to create. And I'm hoping that now the Rams can create that same similar type culture in moving forward and really build something special because they have a lot of weapons on both sides of the ball. They just have to be able to utilize them effectively to get over the hump and slide on up in SoFi come February, February 12th, February 13th, whenever Super Bowl 56 pops off. It'd be great to see at least one of the LA teams make it to the Super Bowl, whether it's the Rams or the Chargers, but somebody from LA representing.
See, I think it's going to be both of them, but you know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You still on that train, huh?
Yeah, man. I have way too much video evidence out there for me to back down now. But no, I'm really sold on what the Rams are doing with Stafford. I mean, I've been a big fan of his, watching him with the Lions. They're on more here than probably over in LA. So I saw a lot of Lions games. Yeah, I saw a lot of Lions games, but mainly because I was such a Stafford fan, I would watch those games. And I just saw constantly this guy being down 10, 17, 20, 24, 28 points, you name it. And he's just constantly just trying to bring his team back. You go back to the year they went 9-7. 8 of those 9 wins were come from behind fourth quarter wins that Stafford basically manufactured. So I look at him now as a perfect quarterback for Sean McVay. 37-0 are the Rams when leading at halftime. That was with Jared Goff. Sean, here's the thing, Matthew Stafford's used to being down, and I understand people have said, well, is he a quarterback that's better when he's down? Does he need that chip? No, he doesn't. Matthew Stafford can play this game. And the thing is with him that you're going to find immediately that's just different than Goff is the fact of the matter is this. He doesn't care how tall you are. He's going to throw it to you, and he's going to ask you to go up even if you're covered and try and pluck that ball. He did it with Danny Amendola, who's around 5'11", 6 foot. He did it with Quintez Cephas. He did it with Hunter Bryant, a UDFA tight end. He does not care who you are. That kind of goes to my point of why I didn't love initially the pick of Tutu Atwell, because I was kind of looking at it like these are probably the biggest weapons that Stafford's had in his career. I mean, obviously he had Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson, but the overall view of it, because next to him was Nate Burleson, solid, he had solid players around him, but it was never Robert Woods and, Cooper Kupp type of guys that are, consistently the best. They're the best duo statistically at wide receiver in the league over the last 2 years. Then you have Van Jefferson, you and I both really like. You have Tyler Higbee, a guy that showed you what he can do. He had 3 touchdowns against Philly last year. That's kind of a glimpse when you let Tyler Higbee, move forward and you let him be a part of this offense and you don't, hold him back. Tyler Higbee can take over games. I mean, I think people forget that. He's a freak coming out of Western Kentucky. So, I'm interested to see him with Stafford. You saw, TJ Hawkinson make strides in year 2, and he is not happy to lose Stafford. That was his guy, and obviously he shouldn't be. But I also think that, you have a guy in Bryson Hopkins that people aren't really talking about who he could emerge. You have Jacob Harris, who they're literally he's a ball of clay, basically. They're going to move him to tight end. And honestly, I think what they're expecting out of him is to be like Evan Ingram is for the Giants. Of course, maybe better hands. But then with Tutu Atwell, you talk about the gadget, role. Going back and watching the film with Atwell, I only watched 3 games coming in the draft, and that's how I formed my opinion. Of course, after they're drafted, I go back and watch a ton of games. I'm not going to change my grade. I finished at a C- there, or a C, because here's the thing. I think he would have been there later on, and if not, it's hard when you have a mid first round talent in Terrace Marshall, who also plays that said position, who's 6'4", who probably would have been a better fit for Stafford in that regard, who was sitting there. And then he goes a pick later to Carolina. So it's hard for me to give that a great grade, but Tutu Atwell, I like that he can take, he can take a hit. You throw it over the middle. I think he's going to be kind of similar to a Danny Amendola in this offense, a guy that maybe Stafford wants to use over the middle, but they're going to use him in gadget roles. And I haven't quite put out my projections on him, but I can tell you this. Don't be surprised if he has more rushing yards than receiving yards. I think they're going to use him a lot in jet sweeps, but I also think they're going to use him in the backfield. I think they're going to do a lot of crazy things with him. I think that's the thing with Sean McVay. And the Rams, to be honest with you, to draft like that, you have to feel really confident in your roster. So while you have a lot of people saying that this team has a lot of needs, the Rams came into the draft thinking, we don't really have any needs. We feel really good about this roster. We're just going to kick Austin Corbett in at center. It's why they barely tried to get Blythe back, because it almost seemed like they wanted to do that. They have a myriad of offensive linemen they've drafted. They put so much capital in that offensive line. You look at guys like Joseph Noteboom and Bobby Evans and David Edwards and Tremaine Ankrum. These are guys that they've drafted, and they haven't really been able to get a full-on chance because you have Andrew Whitworth, who isn't going to retire, this year. He's going to go on another year and could be a year after that. Who knows? So Whitworth, you have Havenstein, you added Corbett, or you added Blythe as a waiver claim from the Colts. And then you go out and you get Corbett for a 5th round pick, a former 33rd overall pick in his own right. So I feel like because of that, and already having solidified both tackle positions, you have Evans and Noteboom, who I think they like and they want to see more of. But if you add more guys in this draft, you're just pushing those guys back. So I think that's how they came into this draft. And then safety, I think they might have considered bringing back John Johnson, but I think if Jordan Fuller didn't come on the way he did last year, John Johnson's probably still a Ram, but I think that might have honestly surprised them how good he was last year. He was a step above, and you have Burgess and Rapp. So they feel good about their team. That's why I think they're a Super Bowl team. I think you're muted, Nick.
Sorry. I think health is going to play a very important role when it comes to Taylor Rapp as well as Tyler Higbee. Because we all know they've been battling injuries for like the last couple of years. So if they can stay healthy, at least 85, 90% healthy throughout the season, now that we have a 17th game. Thanks, NFL. But now they have a longer season now. It's going to be interesting how they manage and monitor down the stretch guys, playing time, getting ready for the playoffs, especially, hopefully the Rams don't have to wait to the last minute to try to play into a playoff berth. Hopefully they'll have a couple of games under their belt where they kind of rest guys, especially, making the playoffs and things like that. Because we saw what happened last year in Green Bay. If you had a healthy Aaron Donald and a healthy, Rams defense, that defense would have beat, as great as, Aaron Rodgers is, they would have beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. They would have been facing Tampa Bay Bucks in the next round. So I think I like I said, to me, we have to see what happens. On the other side of the stadium with the Chargers, I did give their grading a B because I like they felt they had to fill needs and had to fill gaps.
Absolutely.
That would help. And again, their whole goal is to protect Justin Herbert. And they've got to sign him long term, and they understand. And I think they get that. Now we'll see as we move forward, but I think Tom Telesco gets it when it comes to making sure he protects his franchise quarterback, because he was knocked around quite a bit under that former offensive line they had last year, if you can call it that. So I think, them drafting Rashard Slater, them drafting, another running back, being able to get into the defense. You got a healthy, Derwin James coming back. You got Asante Samuel Jr., who's been really picking up speed. Exactly, especially for the type of defense that Brandon Staley wants to conduct.
I said this to you on a call. I was like, man, he might be the best fit in the entire draft. And you're like, what? I was like, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, man.
And that's not doubting his ability. I'm just saying,
I know.
You said the entire draft.
Yeah, the entire draft.
That's deep.
Because that fit, when you look at just first off his processing skills, this guy he reads, reacts, and it's like it's instincts, man. How many times do you see these athletes, not football players, athletes come in this league and then they try to play football and they can't because at that level, they're athletes. They don't have the instincts. Samuel, his dad he was killing it in the NFL. Like, I'm not surprised this guy is going to be, one of the better corners in football. And now he's with Brandon Staley. He has Derwin James. He has Nasir Adderley in the back end. You have a guy like Chris Harris Jr. you can learn from. Chris Harris Jr., he came from KU, first off. Shout out to my Jayhawks. But second, he was a UDFA. Like, he worked his tail off to get to where he was. So I'm sure he's going to, be able to give him a little bit of help there. And then Michael Davis, who needs to be talked about. This guy is a secret superstar that people that don't watch film don't know who he is. They just don't. And that's fine. But like Michael Davis, you know what needs to happen? Madden needs to give him the rating he deserves so then people finally actually talk about this guy, because he's been killing it for 2 years now. That's the thing. I look at Brandon Staley and the value he added to the Rams defense last year. But this was a perfect fit all along. I talked about this. If he goes to the Chargers, you have those guys. You have Bosa. He's not Donald, but he's the best thing you're going to get close to Donald, And then you don't have Jalen Ramsey, but guess what? People thought Derwin James was Jalen Ramsey coming out. That's the thing is that he has a lot of weapons on the defense. And then everyone thinks, oh, well, this guy's a defensive minded guy, so there's no way he's going to get Justin Herbert help. Think again, he goes out and gets Rashawn Slater, a guy that can play 4 out of the 5 positions on the offensive line. He's an athletic freak. And oh, by the way, even though the Bengals franchise quarterback tore his ACL, they took better care of their quarterback in this draft than the Bengals did. And they didn't stop there. They're like, hey, Justin, we're going to get you a present too. We're going to go out and get you a stud wide receiver from Tennessee that can go up and get the ball in Josh Palmer. So look, I thought the Chargers drafted well. I think the Chargers that going out and getting Trey McKitty. Look, it's tough to lose Hunter Henry, but they still have the guy from Stetson I like in Donald Parham. I know they added Jared Cook. I'm not the biggest Jared Cook fan, but for whatever reason, one of my followers on here is obsessed with him. And they got Trey McKitty, a guy who's from Florida State, and he actually transferred to Georgia, and he didn't really ever get the usage he wanted to have. But, this is somebody, I think he's a solid blocker, and he found his best role, I think, with Georgia. So had he transferred earlier, he might have had, more on film. he probably would have gone higher. Don't sleep on Trey McKitty. I think that was a good pickup. And then Chris Rump from Duke. He's a little like shorter, but like size doesn't matter. Aaron Donald's proven that. I think this is somebody, he didn't fit the Brandon Staley mold, the 6'6", outside linebacker that I was expecting him to go out and get. Personally, I thought Jordan Smith was a perfect fit for them. But
I did too.
Chris Rump, man, I think he's going to be really good. And then, I mean, let's not forget Brandon James, who I actually had a starting grade on, and they were able to get him late. They go out and they get Larry Roundtree III, who you were talking about, getting a running back, Mark Webb from Georgia, and Nick Neiman, a solid linebacker to go with guys like Uchenna Nwosu and, getting the kid from Oklahoma last year. The Chargers have a good defense, and then you look at their offense, they have one of the best, honestly, maybe the best receiver that doesn't get any credit, Keenan Allen.
Oh, absolutely. Keenan Allen is a beast. Keenan Allen is definitely top 5. No question. I don't understand why he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. Because
no idea, man.
Keenan Allen is absolute stud. The man gives you yards after the catch. He has a very high percentage in getting yards after the catch. And then, Mike Williams, when he's healthy, takes pressure off of, Keenan Allen just by jumping up and getting the ball. I mean, most 50-50 balls are more like 70-30 or 80-20 balls for Mike Williams just because of his leaping ability. He doesn't give you a whole lot of after the catch, but he can get you. If you need to throw it downfield, as we saw Justin Herbert at times throw the ball down the field, those 50-50 balls, again, turn to 80-20 or 70-30 balls for Mike Williams. So those are keys. But again, I'm going to say this again. I hate to sound redundant, but health is going to be a major concern for Mike Williams, moving forward, because to me, as well as Derwin James too, because I think Derwin James is immensely talented, great guy, very passionate about the game, true leader. Listen to former defensive coordinators of his speak about Derwin. Even Gus Bradley, when he was a defensive coordinator there, spoke highly about Derwin. That's when Derwin was just still wet behind the ears when he came to the NFL. And he was in there, talking, communicating, as if he was a vet. And those type of qualities you don't necessarily find. Those qualities are innate. You can't really teach certain things. So to have a guy like Derwin that can get to you inside and out, be a real threat and a presence to opposing offenses, that's a guy you got to keep your eye on. Joey Bosa to me is up there with Aaron Donald. I think this is a guy that comes off the edge. This is a guy that commands attention. If you sleep, he will catch you slipping like a bad transmission. There's no question about it. You will be hurting the next day. You will be in the ice tub the next day because he will put a hurting on you. But he's so solid, and he has a great high football IQ. He can get around the field. He can get around defenders. When he goes around the line and things of that nature. So he's just a presence that you have to really, really keep the grass cut low on if you're an offense.
Yeah.
Want to be able to see. You got
Jerry Tillery too. 2019 first-round pick. I don't think he's really.
I ain't high on Tillery, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not high on Tillery. He's all right.
This is his year.
Oh,
If he doesn't pop off this year, I'm on your train. Then I won't be very high on him. I wasn't super high on him in the draft, but I like his fit. Whatever
you've been drinking, I would suggest you stop when it comes to talking about Jerry Tillery. I'm just trying to help you out.
Hey, man, I like this defense, and I like their offense. I mean, I think, losing Hunter Henry and replacing him with Jared Cook, and, I'm not the biggest Jared Cook fan, but I do like Trey McKitty and Parham. So
I think Jared Cook was more probably maybe just because of veteran presence, because I think that's probably going to be their weakness for a while, is that tight end, because you lost Hunter Henry, which you could have easily re-signed Hunter Henry. I still don't understand why they didn't re-sign him. And he goes to the Patriots.
Just took him and Jonnu Smith and ran.
I mean, you let him go to the Patriots under Bill Belichick.
Well, and not only that, so the Chargers let him go, and then the Titans let their guy go, and then it was like they got robbed blind, and then they didn't replace him. Look at the Titans, tight ends. You know what I mean? It's bizarre.
Hunter is I think Hunter was ascending, and I think they could have let Hunter at least a couple more years develop, see how he develops, and if he didn't reach your level of potential, okay, then you may want to explore other options. But there's no way I'm letting go of Hunter Henry at this stage, especially with the comfort level you saw with Justin Herbert last year in his rookie year. and how he was really developing with guys like Hunter Henry and others, man. I just don't understand that. The other thing is I would have never let the quarterback's coach go. There's no way I let Pep Hamilton leave. No way in hell. If anything, I tell Brandon, say, look,
where did he end up going?
Houston Texans.
Ooh, okay.
For what? I have no idea. But I understand. I'm not blaming Pep because Pep, you go where you need, where the job is needed.
No, of
course.
But
if I'm the Los Angeles Chargers, you saw the great job that he did with Justin Herbert in his rookie year, a guy that was thrown into the fray 5 minutes before game time in week number 2 against the Super Bowl champs at that time, the Kansas City Chiefs, and him to come within 3 points in an overtime game to almost defeating the Kansas City Chiefs in a way that Justin Herbert played and took a lick and bounced right back up like nothing happened, like he was Superman. Those type of instincts, those type of plays, and developing that chemistry with Pep deserves a hell of a lot of credit for how he's developed Justin Herbert over a course of a season. And I really do. I think the Chargers kind of missed the mark to me by allowing Pep Hamilton to walk. I think that would have been the only chip. Say, hey, Brandon, if you want this job, you got to keep Pep Hamilton. He's been the key to Justin's success. Along with Justin, obviously, he was putting in the work, putting in the time, film sessions and things of that nature, and having the football mind to do so. But to have someone like Pep Hamilton to develop this young man, to give him the insight and the wisdom of the NFL, I think was priceless. And I think, much like how we talked about the Lakers missing the mark with Dwight Howard, I do believe the Chargers missed the mark when it came to letting Pep Hamilton go.
Well, it's funny he went to Houston because Houston to me is like they're the island of misfit toys in a sense. But hear me out when I say this is like everyone's opportunity to kind of like revitalize their career. This is a lost season. It's not going to go well, but if you can put good film on, or like, like Pep Hamilton, like if he gets some good quarterback play out of Tyrod Taylor or Davis Mills, he could be looking at an offensive coordinator job, or maybe a head coaching job. Who knows? And I feel like that's like the opportunity zone. If you're talking about live bullets and live reps, go to the Texans. And that's exactly why, like, Philip Lindsay didn't even try. Once Denver basically said they weren't going to bring him back and they rescinded, I believe they had a tender on him or whatever. He was like, I'm going to go to the Texans because that's where the opportunity is. I'm going to get a ton of carries and I'm going to get a ton of, reps in the passing game. And I mean, we know Brandon Cooks, doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. He's probably going to go for 1,000 yards as long as he stays healthy. That man's a machine. So, I just think I've noticed that is like a lot of these veterans that kind of feel like they're at kind of a crossroads in their career. They're going to the Texans. And I think with your guy, Pep Hamilton, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think he could get some good play out of a Tyrod Taylor or Davis Mills, where they're not necessarily winning ball games because their team's just not that good. They're not on the par of everyone else. But I think if it's good enough, you could be looking at him getting, a promotion down the line.
I mean, possibly. I could see him as an OC at some point, and hopefully it's with a good organization and a winning type of situation. That's the problem that we see with a lot of black coaches and minority, higher coaches, is that they always get the crap end of the stick when it comes to
just look at Raheem Morris's career.
I mean, dude, like, to me, I think, the name escapes me now at the moment. The head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike
Tomlin.
I think Mike Tomlin got the best coaching fit because he's with a great organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers. How many coaches have they had? Like, what, 3, 4 in their entire history?
I mean, you talk about the Rooney Rule originating with them. And then the fact is, this is an organization that's they've had like 3 or 4 coaches in over like a 50-year span. I mean, they don't fire coaches and they stick with them.
It's hard. And you know what's interesting? Mike Tomlin, as much as people want to get him out of town for those last couple of years, he's never had a losing record since he's been head coach.
He's dealt with everything. I don't understand this idea, like, let's get rid of this guy. He dealt with the whole fiasco with Le'Veon Bell and, AB and just, the Big Ben stuff off the field. And then just not to mention
Juju dancing.
Yeah, Juju. Well, not to mention, let's talk. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger hasn't been healthy his whole career. He's had to go out there, I mean, that's the thing. I feel like Tomlin is actually underrated, if anything. Because we're constantly talking about him being on the hot seat, but they keep winning games.
But I'll be honest with you if I can, and your audience may get us slightly uncomfortable, but hey, it's how it happens. Most times black coaches only get a short end of the stick versus their white counterparts. And they get certain jobs that most white coaches won't get or take, and they're expected to perform miracles. They are expected to walk on water and crap ice cream. And if they don't, then guess what? You're out of here. And so how can you develop a culture, and how can you develop chemistry and trust, most importantly, with your players, if you give guys 2 to 3 years? Cincinnati was a fluke, keeping Marvin Lewis for that long. I don't know if Marvin Lewis has some pictures on people. I don't know what the hell happened, because there's no way in hell I'm going to keep a coach, I don't care what color he is, and constantly lose every single year. Like, there's no way, and lose playoff games. Like, there's no way in hell. I don't care what you look like. But outside of Cincinnati,
the owner doesn't care about winning. Let's be
apparently
real.
not. Apparently
he never did.
Not.
He's all about the money.
He damn sure doesn't care about an offensive line, and God bless Joe Burrow, because good Lord, he's going to be taking more hits. Good Lord. Hope that knee is rested up. But when you look at other places, you look at guys that have really, done some work, and then they get canned. I do believe Anthony Lynn deserved another year.
Oh, I do too. They won 4 straight 10.
I think that 45-0 shellacking they took against the New England Patriots, I think that was probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
But they wanted to allow Anthony to finish out the season, which to a degree is respectable. But I do believe he deserved another year. Now,
Steve Wilkes got 1 year, and everyone was talking about him, being that secondary guy.
But then you get guys in Arizona, that to me really haven't done a whole hell of a lot. But they're getting talked about as if, they got like Jimmy Hart from WWE, like bigging them up. Like, it's like they got the ultimate hype man. They got I swear, I think some of these coaches have like Paul Heyman as their side like manager.
Dude.
Because there's no way you can tell me, like Matt LaFleur, and I'm not knocking Matt LaFleur, but come on, what is Matt LaFleur proving to get a head coaching job this quick? What is he proving? But then you have a lot of black coordinators and a lot of black, position coaches and even head coaches, even in the NCAA, that deserve an opportunity at the next level, and they can't get it. They have to go through all these 9 million steps. Or if they do get an opportunity, it's with some sorry ass team that it ain't going to produce much, like the Jets or some godforsaken team like that. And so to me, when you bring in guys, and you bring in guys, like I said, Jacksonville, for example, you bring in a guy that hasn't coached in about 3 years, never coached in the NFL, no previous coaching experience in the NFL. Now, I do like his coordinators, and I might, because I understand he is a manager. He's not a head coach; he's more like a game manager. So he has the coordinators to kind of do their due diligence. But outside of that, it's like, how many more coaches could have been in that position that actually know how to coach and run a team? I mean, thank God for Bruce Arians. Well, he has one of the most diverse staffs in all of the NFL. He has women,
the most we've ever seen by far.
Yeah, he has women, and the women are incredibly knowledgeable on their team, in their positions. You have 2 black, coordinators. You got, a couple of, white coordinators. He has a great blend of everybody, but these are smart football minds, but they all blend together. And that's like I said, Bruce Arians is creating a culture in Tampa. Yes, it helps that you have Tom Brady. Yes, it helps that you won a Super Bowl. But you got to get to those points in order to attract a guy like Tom Brady. You have to get to a point where you can have an opportunity, have the weaponry to get to a Super Bowl and then defend, win a Super Bowl and be able to call yourself a champion. There's a lot of factors that are involved before those moves take place. And I think Bruce Arians coming down there, leaving Arizona, created a culture in Tampa when nobody was paying attention and Tampa was not really on the radar. He was creating culture slowly but surely, and let alone look what it produced. And I remember asking Bruce Arians during the Super Bowl media time, and I said, "What did you say to these guys? That what was your message in the beginning, and how do you see that coming to fruition here now that you're here in the Super Bowl?" He said, "I told them at practice, look across the way. Super Bowl 55 is going to be hosted right there. Do you want somebody else in your locker room, or do you want to defend and hold down your own locker room?" And I was like, whoa.
I love that.
How many coaches need to steal that speech?
And I lost my mind, man. I was ready to play for Bruce Arians when you said that.
How many coaches are going to need to steal that speech?
Sean McVay and Brandon Seeley. Hey, do you see Whitworth was saying, what was it today? Like make your habit, whatever your habits are, make them so we can, be playing for a Super Bowl come February. Like they're already talking about it.
I would love to see some LA team in the Super Bowl, because if this is LA, this is SoFi Stadium.
Yes.
There's already been talk about Snoop wanting to reunite with Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, and God knows who else from the West Coast that would be joining, and probably people from, the group from Mount Westmore, which is E40, Too Short, and Ice Cube, along with Snoop. I would love to see them perform, at Super Bowl 56. Hell, we can get Sublime up in there. They're from Long Beach. Why not? You know what I mean? Keep it all West Coast. But I would love to have an LA team represent in Super Bowl 56. That would be, and then you got a great halftime show. Thank God that Rock Nation's now producing the halftime shows. Now, last year with the weekend, I'd rather have the weekdays.
I like the weekend. I like the weekend's music. I felt like the production was very off.
That show was garbage. I like certain weekend songs, but I'm not a fan. But that show was trash.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for. Well, I mean, I'm more into rock, but if I was gonna just like side with everyone else, I would just want like Eminem, Kendrick, pretty much what you just mentioned. I would not mind that at all.
I want Dre. Hey, bring the Dog Pound. You got to bring Daz and Corrupt. Bring them in. Bring Ice Cube. You got to set it off. This is LA. This is the West Coast. You got to set it off right. And if the NFL wants to make that move and do the right thing, man, they got to bring somebody. Much like we saw in Atlanta, how they brought Big Boy and Sleepy Brown in to represent the A-Town when the Super Bowl was in Atlanta that year. Even though I wasn't, the halftime show was cool. I thought it could have been way better, but at least they brought in hometown talent, to represent the town. And I was glad to see that. So the NFL needs to at least do that and let Snoop, headline.
Well, like, it sucks because it's like, I'd love to see like a rock band or whatever, but it's like they never pick the right one.
Coming. That's coming. They got it because they can't keep it. They got to keep it. They got to, like I said, you can bring in Green Day. You can bring in Sublime.
I don't know. I would love Green Day, but Green Day already played. Green Day played with U2. So
bring them back.
I would say this.
Encore.
I would say this. You know who is the most diverse rock band in a sense? They will literally play with anybody. The Foo Fighters. They have my guy. They have tours where they'll just bring LL Cool J and they'll bring Trombone Shorty and they'll bring Janis Joplin. Like, they don't care. They just love music. They love artists. And so if you got the Foo Fighters and like Eminem and like Kendrick and LL Cool J, Ice Cube, whatever, I think that would really go well. I mean, they will play with anybody.
I tell you, the Red Hot Chili Peppers would be one too.
They would. I'm not
because Flea is a LA kind of guy.
So I'm expecting them to play at SoFi like they did at the Coliseum, but I could never get in their music. I know I'm probably getting hated on in the comment section, but
Red Hot Chili Peppers were it.
If I turn my camera over there, you can find Dave Grohl's Smash guitar on my wall. That's my band. Like I would love that. And I love Green Day and I love Blink. I mean, hey, Blink's from that area, Blink 182. I mean, I think especially Travis Barker, he's gotten into all sorts of rap.
Oh, man, Travis Barker he's incredible, man. That's a sharp musician right there.
He's unreal. He's literally like
talented.
Everything. Like he's just in everything now. He'll produce anything. He'll play drums for anything. So yeah, I mean, I know we went off a topic a little bit, but hey, I thought that was fun, and I'm glad to know you respect good music and the fact that like you didn't just turn away when I said Foo Fighters, because
Foo Fighters are the truth.
So many people said so in the comments section when they announced that The Weeknd was going to be the performer, there were so many people like, at least it's not the Foo Fighters. I'm like, bro, what did the Foo Fighters do to you? You realize they're carrying the rock genre. They are the upper echelon of that genre right now. So it only makes sense to have them and then the top of the rap game, top hip hop, top pop. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Muse would be cool, but Muse is different.
Clowns at the circus, man.
Yeah, no, I
leave
definitely
clowns at
hear
the
you.
circus.
Yeah, as long as it's not like death metal, I think everyone's gonna be fine with it.
I don't want some like, yeah, it better be Snoop and Dre and Eminem and 50 and Kendrick and like Cube and E40 or somebody like that. Like it's got to be somebody from the West.
I
I'm
feel like
sorry.
that would make sense.
I'm gonna be so disappointed. I'm
But at
telling
the
you,
same time, you gotta pay
I'm
for it.
there, when I'm there, dude, I will find something else to do during halftime. I won't even pay attention. I could care less.
Yeah.
Even though you have to pay for it, but I think it might be worth it. Like just to be on that stage and reunite in LA. I think if it wasn't in LA, and probably not, but the fact that it is in LA, in Inglewood and at SoFi Stadium, I mean, you got to bring the West Coast out. I mean, you got to bring West Coast royalty out. That's just, it's a travesty if you don't.
Yeah. Well, hey, we have someone said Kendrick and YG with Red Hot Chili Peppers. That actually sounds like that might end up being the like if
I would love, you know, it'll be dope.
That
If
actually
the
sounds
guys
like that
that
could
I,
end up being there.
including those guys that person mentioned, and let's say Snoop did like a quick one, like a 90-second Nipsey Hussle tribute.
We do have a lot of comments in here saying Nipsey would have been awesome for SoFi.
Dude, can you imagine doing just a 60-second or 90-second Nipsey Hussle tribute in the midst of halftime show at the Super Bowl? How big that would be. And have like
chills,
YG and
bro.
Kendrick, like ad-libbing alongside as one of Nipsey's songs, you know, videos is playing. Come on, man, that's classic. That will go down. The NBA would have to step up their halftime game after that one. Because the NBA usually puts on a lot of great halftime shows for the most part. But the NFL did that. And Snoop would orchestrate the whole and quarterback the whole thing.
They got to stop
epic.
with the whole you have to pay to be the performer.
But you know what? They could get sponsors to pay for that. Like Snoop is bankable. Dre is bankable.
Yeah.
Ice Cube is bankable. Kendrick is bankable. Eminem 50.
Someone just said, imagine if they go with Katy Perry or Lady Gaga.
I will walk out.
That's enough to really make me not want to watch it.
I'll be like, you know what? I think it's time to go get some souvenirs. Let me walk down to the souvenir place down here in SoFi. Where am I? I'm upstairs. Okay, let me walk down 2 floors and go walk down to the end zone where the souvenir store is. Let me go down there and grab me some souvenirs for the folks.
My guy Nolan's like, as long as it's not some BS like Nickelback.
Thank you. That part.
Oh Lord, can you imagine? That'd be bad.
No,
Alexis likes Nickelback, but I just
God bless her. She's a sweetheart, but I can't rock with her on that one.
No, I can't either. It's all good. You know, they always said, what was it? If you listen to Nickelback forward, you hear Nickelback, but if you listen to it backwards, you hear the devil.
And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and retire up out of here. Thank you so much, man, for having me on.
Absolutely, man. It's it was a pleasure. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you heading on in here, and we'll be doing this more often.
Well, first, before I leave, if I may, sir, first
throw
of all,
all the plugs, all of them.
Welcome to the movement. Downtown Rams, for those of you that may not know, Downtown Rams is connected with Nitecast Media. They will have their content also featured on nitecastmedia.com. So in case you miss it anywhere else, you can get it right there, nitecastmedia.com. That's nitecastmedia.com. Make sure you go there, check out Downtown Rams. Alex, you know, my man, I like to call him JK, but you know, he might get mad at me, so I'm not gonna.
No, you call me whatever you want.
But I appreciate you guys' willingness to come on. I know we're going to do some great work and some great things moving forward. So I just want to announce to everybody, I want to say thank you for, you know, allowing me to partner up with me and the company rather to do some great things, man. So thank you. It's going to be a great season. Trust me.
Oh man, we're excited. I'm happy to be working with you. You know, you've become kind of a mentor to me, man. So it's no, it's no, it's a pleasure, man. You know, all of our calls, texts, you know, interacting on Twitter, Instagram. I mean, it all started just from, our first season with the podcast and you coming on with Blaine and I. So, really appreciate you.
Man, shout out to Blaine too, man. Blaine's doing work too, man.
Hell yeah,
shout
man.
out to him too. So thank you to him as well.
Yeah.
Some of his pieces will be featured on nitecastmedia.com as well throughout the season. So I want to say thank you to him and the entire DTR staff for linking up. But I mean, you guys have done incredible work. I've seen the growth over the course of time.
Appreciate it, man.
I see the growth. I see the studio setup. I see the change in the lenses and the lighting and the graphics and all of that, all the bells and whistles. So I just wanted to say thank you, man, and I appreciate it. And like I said, we're gonna have very extensive Ram coverage. I will be out there. You all will be doing the coverage and providing your perspective and your analysis and intelligence on the game. So, we're a three-headed monster out here. Blaine will be, creating some incredible content. So, a four-headed monster out here and then some. So we're definitely going to be out here doing it. And I'm looking forward to this season. We got the fans coming back finally this coming season. And guess what? The first preseason game is the Chargers against the Rams. So that should be real fun.
Ooh, I hear you.
That's gonna be fun.
Hey, before you go, because I'm already getting questions about your Twitter at. If you can, let's see here. If you can say it, I'm gonna put it in our scroll bar real quick before you head out.
Twitter is at Nitecast Media on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and then my personal Twitter is at Nick Hamilton 213. That's at Nick Hamilton 213. On Instagram, I'm at Nick Hamilton LA. So
at Nick Hamilton 213
on Twitter. On the Twitter.
And at Nitecast Media. Just gonna drop that in the bottom there because we'll get people that rewatch this, so they'll see it. So there we go. Go and follow.
Y'all didn't messed up now. You put DTR with Nightcat. Okay.
There's people. Okay. There's people already like, I'm gonna pull up on Nitecast Media now. See?
Watch. And we got something else up our sleeve too. So you definitely want to stay tuned. And not just with DTR. I got my eye on something else.
Ooh.
If trust me, you're gonna want to make sure you stay tuned. But we're gonna have some giveaways this season with DTR. So Rams fans, NFL fans, make sure you keep it glued to DTR. Make sure you keep it glued to nitecastmedia.com. And we're going to have some giveaways this coming season. And you may luck up. Everybody's been waiting to get into SoFi.
Ooh. May luck up. I wonder what you got up your sleeves there. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Nick, you're going to be back soon because my fans love you here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
talking
the fans
nonstop here. They're like, man, great guest. This dude's spitting game. This dude's spitting facts. Like, you know how it is. But hey, guys, appreciate you guys for tuning in. You can go follow Nick at Nick Hamilton 213 and at Nitecast Media. You can follow me at Jake Bogan. It's no longer DTSN, so make sure it's Jake Bogan. That's all I got. Be sure to subscribe, comment, like for the algorithm. And that's going to do it. So for Jake
Ellenbogen, follow
Downtown Rams as well. This is Nick Hamilton. I just pointed the wrong way. There we go. I'm getting used to this setup, man. We appreciate you guys for spending the last hour or so with us talking Rams and Lakers. But we're going to sign off now. So see you guys soon. You guys take care and take it easy. Later.